Hello, everyone. My name is Kiera Moore. I am a licensed mental health therapist. I am super, super excited for our first live for the Sound Mind, Self-Care Sound Mind podcast. So I just want to make sure that I am up and running here. I believe I am. Let me just double check. Yes. We are live. So welcome to Self-Care Sound Mind, the podcast and live series. Again, I am Kiera Moore, licensed mental health therapist in the state of Delaware and soon to be Pennsylvania. I'm just putting that out there because they just need to go ahead and process my paperwork. My goal for this live series is to uplift, empower, and encourage. I'll be doing this every other week on Fridays at 6 o'clock, and we'll be discussing mental health related topics that illuminate self-care and encourage a sound mind. So this is episode 1. And we are going to be blessed with our special guest, Ms. Crysta Harris, owner and founder of the Black and Brown Delaware Therapist Directory. But before we get into that, I want to just give you guys a few self-care announcements. So in Delaware, there are a few organizations. If you don't know me, I'm all about self-care. So there are a few organizations that have some weekly and monthly self-care opportunities. So Black Girls Hike Too. You can follow them on Instagram for monthly hiking opportunities. Sisters Supporting Sisters. You can follow them on Instagram and Facebook. It's a nonprofit that they do weekly walks on the what's that trail called? The Jack Markell Trail. So that is a 7-mile walk. So I will put that out there. It is a long walk, but it is a wonderful time. Great way to, they call it the Anxiety and Depression Walkathon. It's a great way to relieve the stress of the week. Also, you can check out fitwifestyle.com. They have online exercise classes and things like that. So for those of you who know me, you know that I have Self-Care Sound Mind events where I was pre-pandemic doing bi-monthly self-care events. And then I started doing them every month last summer, doing outdoor events. We are going to get back to our self-care events. We had a few mishaps that had to, including the pandemic, that slowed things down, but we are gonna get back on track, and I have some things coming up. I'm working on some out of the box ideas, so stay tuned for that. Also, if you have a self-care product, if you make candles or body butter or t-shirts or aromatherapy spray or whatever it is, if you have a product that you believe promotes self-care, please, please, please contact me at kmtherapeuticservices@gmail.com. And I would like to showcase your self-care item online. So if you are interested in that, please, again, email me at kmtherapeuticservices@gmail.com. Okay, so now that all of that is out of the way, let me go ahead and officially welcome you to the show. Welcome to Self-Care Sound Mind, the podcast and live series. I'm super excited for tonight's special guest, Ms. Crysta Harris.
Hello.
Hey, Crysta.
Hi. I was trying to share on my page, but I can't figure it out.
I will tag you right now so we can do that.
Perfect. That way we can get as many people to watch it.
Yes.
But hi, everybody. How are you?
Yes. So let me just tag Crysta real quick.
Yes.
So that we can share on every platform possible. I might have to tag BBDT because it's on my Cure More Therapeutic Services page. So I just tagged you and you can go ahead and do that. So welcome again, everybody. This is Self-Care Sound Mind, the podcast. And I have Crysta Harris, licensed mental health therapist in the state of Delaware. Crysta is the founder of the Black Brown Delaware Therapist Directory. Yes. And Crysta and I have become business besties over this past year. And knowing you so far has been not only a great resource, good time, good conversation, but we both have a passion for mental health and for providing mental health services to the community. So I'm going to let you give a little bit of your own intro, tell the world and everyone watching and who will watch and who will hopefully listen on Apple Podcasts and Spotify later on. Tell them all who you are and what you do, and you can tell us about the BBDT.
Awesome. So hi, everybody that is watching and that will watch later on. As Kiara said, my name is Crysta Harris. I am a licensed mental health therapist located in the state of Delaware and licensed in the state of Delaware. I am also, what my intro is usually, I am a boy mom of a 2-year-old that, you know, runs me wild. I am also a wife. I am a, what I also call myself, a mompreneur.
Yes.
So I wear many, many hats. So that's why I practice a lot of self-care that Kiara was talking about early on.
Yeah.
In addition to, you know, those roles, you know, as being a mompreneur, so to speak, I did create the Black Brown Delaware Therapist Directory, aka BBDT. And I created that directory specifically for the state of Delaware and primarily for Black and Brown residents located in the state of Delaware. There was some good in the pandemic on top of all the chaos. There was some good that happened because that's when I created the directory. I noticed that many people was asking, I need a therapist. I need to see a therapist. Where do I go? How do I find a person that looks like me? And I said, okay, you know what? It's time to run with this, and it's time to create the directory. So November 2020, that's when BBDT launched. On top of Yes. So I'm, you know, I don't know how much detail you want me to go into because I know
you're going. We can help.
But the directory, you know, what I like to say is honestly, I believe it's saving lives because people that want to find a provider that looks like them and understands them and validates them, they have an easier time now connecting with a mental health therapist, a nurse practitioner. We have social workers on there, you know, and the list goes on. And so now they are, you know, able to find a provider that looks like them literally in minutes.
That is absolutely amazing. And there are a lot of directories out there, but what, you know, and you can speak more on what sets BBDT apart, but just the fact that you, I don't want to say shrunken it because that's not the best way to describe it, but you specified it for Delaware. Because there are so many others that are national or international, and it can be overwhelming when you're trying to look through all of that. So you told us what BBDT is. What is your ultimate goal and mission, or what problem are you trying to solve with the Black Brown Delaware Therapist?
Absolutely. So for those who may not know, you know, the Black and Brown community, we are at a disadvantage in a lot of areas, one being the healthcare system, the mental health care system. Being as though there are many stereotypes, there are a lot of health inequities and things of that nature in the health and mental health field, it makes it very difficult for us to be able to find the help they need. Not to mention, Black and Brown mental health providers, psychiatrists, psychologists, our percentage is very low in the field. Last I heard, it was 4%. So we make 4% of the field. So it is very difficult to find a provider. So just think, on top of you facing a trauma, facing, maybe a possible anxiety attack, facing just some type of challenge, and you're trying to hurry up and find a provider, but yet you don't see anyone that may look like you, or maybe represent you, or will understand you. That can be a barrier within seeking help.
Absolutely. Not only that, but like some of these, what I love about private practice, and for those of you who don't know, I have two practices, Kiera More Therapeutic Services, and my group practice, Embracing Oath Therapy. And what I love about private practice and group practices is that when you go through, so with larger agencies, and with us having experiences with those, there tend to be long drawn out waiting lists. They want you to stay on their waiting list because they want you to go with them. But when you have private practice, it's kind of like, look, if I can help you, I can. If not, I'll refer you to somebody else. And I know for me, I spend a lot of time referring out and, sharing other people who may have the availability, because I don't want you just waiting around, because like you said, if you're in crisis, you're not going to want to wait 2 months for an appointment, or you get an appointment and now you got to wait 2 more months for your next appointment. So what I like about BBDT is that you're highlighting people in private practice. And even if they're not in private practice and they work for an agency, they're saying, hey, I'm available and you can request me at this place.
Absolutely.
So, and you can search by region, right?
Yeah. So by city. So on the directory, you can find a provider by searching for the city. So that's Wilmington, Newcastle, Middletown, Dover, Lewis, all the areas we cover. And for the most part, I have providers in all of the areas. So that is a plus. And if someone maybe recommends, like, you guys watching this interview, and if you are new to Kiera's page, you can go to the directory and type in Kiera's name and her practice will pop up. And so I would like things to be easy. Okay? I don't want to be searching and looking for stuff. Another feature that will be added to the directory within the next day, I wanted to have a search all option. So you'll be able to see, you can also see all the providers at once as well. If you just type in Delaware, all of them will come up. And I am happy to say somebody signed up yesterday and today. And so we are at 21 providers. So I am super excited about it.
It is wonderful, just since November. And I just want to stop and highlight that for a moment, because so many people really, I don't want to say they think, but their personal experience has made it so that it seems like there's nobody out there, right? Like a lot of people, if you go to, if you're in crisis and you happen to go to a crisis hospital, the list of referrals are going to be limited to larger agencies. If you are trying to talk to a friend and they're like, well, you could talk to this person, but it's really hard to get into them, right? So there's all these limitations. I was talking with someone yesterday who said 20 years ago, when they worked for the state, they used to have to refer to Maryland, to Pennsylvania, to even fly them to other further away states such as Texas just 20 years ago. And that was just for a mental health referral. So now there are so many of us.
Yes.
There are so many of us out there. And I'm hoping, if you're watching, if you have a therapist of color, let them know that they should be on the Black, Brown, Delaware Therapist Directory, because this is where people, and this is no shade to any other directory, but it is just a resource. And that's what we're talking about: mental health and resources for our state and for our community. Now, just because someone is listed on a Black and Brown Delaware Therapist Directory does not mean they're necessarily only accepting clients of color.
Yes.
But if you are looking for a client of color, it's easier to find them through the directory. Yes. Because if you go on Psychology Today or a larger directory like that, you have thousands of therapists to search through. So which makes it overwhelming, right?
Yes. So I will say, so two things that, I'm very clear that I intentionally created this directory for Black and brown people in Delaware. Right. I intentionally created it for that purpose in order to make individuals that want to seek mental health care to be able to have an easier process. But anybody can use the directory. So I want to make that clear too. And I encourage people or other organizations, other state organizations or what have you, nonprofits or what have you, to use the directory to refer when needed.
Right.
You don't have to be Black or brown just to use the directory. I encourage everybody. My goal is also for everyone in the state of Delaware to know that this resource exists.
Yes.
But piggybacking off what you said here, when I go to a Psychology Today, again, no shit. Maybe a little. But when I go to a Psychology Today, and if I put in a Delaware therapist, there are literally over 20 pages. So that is a lot to look through. Whereas overwhelming, especially like I said, if you're going through a challenge and you're like, okay, I just want to find someone.
You're in crisis. You ain't trying to go through all that.
You honestly, you're really just looking at aesthetics. Like really, you're really just looking at the person's profile, if they have a video or what have you. That's really what you're looking at. Mm-hmm. And so what sets this apart is because when you click on your city, or if you put in a name, or if you sort it through just the state of Delaware, that is all you are going to see. That's it.
I love that.
Yes, all different
what are some of the responses that you've gotten so far about the directory? Because it's still fairly new. I mean, amazing resource. What are we, November, December, 6 months now?
Is it 6 months?
Just about. I mean, so what are people saying so far who have used the directory?
So I'm gonna speak from both perspectives, on the provider side and then the client side. So for clients, when this video launched, because I had a video to promote BBDT. First of all, the video, and I don't have a lot of followers, you guys, like at all, but within that first day or two, the video went viral and it had over 11,000 views.
First of all, that video was amazing. And I'm going to need me a video just like that.
Thank you.
I want to be like her when I grow up.
Listen, no, I'm trying to do something that you're doing, child. But no, it was, and to me, like I literally had a tear come out because I just couldn't believe it. I mean, the amount of reposts and the reshares and just the messages that I received was so overwhelming in a good way. But that's how I know that I'm solving problems. And
Yes.
That's how I know that this was really needed. I have messages of people, someone wrote me, which I just posted it a little while ago. They wrote me and they said, thank God for you, because as a mother of a Black son, it was so difficult to find a therapist for him. And this came at the right time. And that's just one of many. And then on the provider side, a lot of the majority of the providers, they already, they have clients. They've already, got clients from the directory. And I had someone that recently signed up yesterday. She's getting ready to sign up actually, but she said that she was looking for her therapist and she was able to find it. She said it was really easy the directory was really easy to use. And now she's getting ready to sign up because she said, well, this was a recent.
I love it.
So I'm signing up.
I love it. And what I like too, well, first let me ask for those who are listening, how does one, what's the process if you are looking for a therapist in Delaware? If they go on the directory, what should they do?
Oh, so, and we'll put that stuff in the link too.
Yes.
So first you'll go to www.blackbrowndelawaretherapist.com, and literally you go to find a therapist, which is right at the top of the navigation bar. And then you're going to put in your city, and then a list of providers is going to populate. You can break that list down by insurances. So you can break that down by insurances, and then the list will get even smaller so that it can populate to the insurances that they accept. and then you would read through the profile. I always encourage people to read through the profile.
Yes, don't just look at the picture.
Look at the profile, see if what they're saying relates to you, because that's usually what's going on with the provider. They're going to put in what relates to their clientele, and read what issues they treat, and contact the provider, and you wait for a response.
I love it.
Yes.
I absolutely love it.
All the providers do list if they are accepting clients, so that is also something to take a look at when you read too. So they all say if they're accepting clients or not, and the majority of, except for maybe one, everybody's accepting clients.
Awesome. So that is great. That's the Black, Brown, Delaware therapist. So I want to transition a little bit to just talking to the mompreneur here, because let me tell y'all something. I know people who know how to rub elbows, okay? I'm not the best at rubbing elbows with people. I think that for me, people just enjoy my goofiness at times, or just like the things that I say. But I'm not the rubbing elbows type. But honey, you've been running elbows with the big dog. Like Martin said, you've been stomping with the big dog. Like, like Crysta.
Hi, Christina.
You are making some connections. I don't know all of what you can talk about, but you got an opportunity, and with it being tomorrow closes out Black Maternal Mental Health Week. No, just Black Maternal Health Week, right? So with that ending tomorrow, and just shedding light on the disproportionate rates at which women of color, Black women and children are dying at birth, you had an amazing opportunity in partnership recently with the directory. So I want to talk a little bit about maternal mental health, and how even more so, we already know about the rates at which Black women are dying at childbirth, right? But how many women are going through women of color are going through postpartum depression, and for whatever reason, it's going untreated, it's going unnoticed. I was talking with some women yesterday, and we were talking about how easy it was for people to miss the signs in their experiences. I personally had a lot of postpartum anxiety, and nobody knew. And I had.
Did you know, Kiera?
Say it again.
Did you know that you were going through that? Because you said nobody knows. So did you know?
I think I knew that. What I would always say is I was on the verge of postpartum depression and anxiety. Well, first of all, let's go back. Before the training, I didn't even know postpartum anxiety was a thing. So I felt like, okay, I'm not depressed, but child, if this boy don't stop crying, it would just be times when people would be looking at us, be like, let me just take a deep breath.
Listen.
Because look here, little boy, okay? But I realized after going through the training what was really, and now I'm able to go back and be like, wow, like there were some things going on. But I've always been able to mask, being honest as a therapist, I've always been able to mask what I'm experiencing, because in my perception, there are some people who can't handle when I'm not well put together, right? When I'm the one falling apart and not being there for them. Or they just, just don't expect that to happen. I don't know what, for whatever reason, I still find myself struggling to be vulnerable with some people, not everybody, which is why I'm daily working on my cape, right? But we'll get to that in a second. But let's talk about mental health and postpartum and perinatal and postpartum mental health.
So first, what was the statistics? What is it? Was it 1 in 5 or 3 in 5 black and brown women?
I don't know, but I know it's too many.
I don't want to say the wrong thing because stats is not my thing, y'all. But the number is high, and I feel like it's 3 out of 5 women suffer from perinatal mood disorders. So that is including depression, anxiety, PTSD. Like that is a major, major issue.
Yeah.
And I think part of like what you said, it is sometimes missed and overlooked with us because it's not taught, I would say, or it's more so of like kind of our like ancestors, our ancestors and whatnot, they like pushing through, like you push, you'll be okay.
You'll be all right.
Baby, you fine. And then I think for the doctor's perspective, which I have heard not some of the best stories this past week, that I think that Black women are looked at as strong and that their pain tolerance is through the roof because let's be clear, back in the day, they did use Black and brown women. They used Black women as like test dummies, I guess you could say, and lab rats, and did these things on Black women without like anesthesia and things of that nature. They think that Black and brown women just have this supernatural
higher tolerance for pain. Like our skin is thicker.
Yeah. So that's some of the nonsense. And so, it does get overlooked a lot. As far as in Delaware, like I said, I heard a couple of stories. I went to a couple of trainings, more so recently the Delaware Psi national training, and the numbers are so high that I definitely like my mouth dropped to the floor.
Yeah.
And with Delaware specifically, we do not have a lot of. Well, we really kind of don't have any, but now we do. But Black and brown providers that specialize in that certain area.
Yes.
So that's an issue. That's a problem. And one major thing that I've heard is that, some Black women, they just feel like their problems are overlooked. And that's when the issue comes in. And then that's when the lack of trust comes in as well.
Absolutely. Over this past year,
yes, Christina.
I had a high school friend die weeks before giving birth from essentially preeclampsia, and she and her daughter died, and it's devastating. She was 33 years old. Like that first child, like that's not supposed to happen. You know what I mean? I hear so many stories of just women being totally disregarded. When I had my son, my anesthesiologist was awful. Like he was just mean. And I literally had to choose between focusing on my son and the fact that I'm on this operating table or letting this dude have it. Like it was at a point where I literally had to calm myself down because I felt like I was going to throw up. Yeah. And he was just like, well, there's nothing I can do. So you just need to calm down. Yeah. What? like and handed my husband a cup with a bag on it and just walked away. And I was just like, Kiara, if you don't calm down, you were going to aspirate and die because he's not going to do anything to help you. So I'm literally doing deep breathing exercises to calm myself down. Like I just, when I think about that, I'm like, if you were blatant about that, right? How many other things, like when he worked the night shift. So that, so I ended up having my son, I had an emergency C-section which is a whole nother thing because I was told, well, what doctor you gonna have? Because there's some that just want to do C-sections, but that's a whole nother thing. And I remember so he was coming off the night shift and I was like, I need epidural. And I remember him walking in like, well, I'm about to get off. So I'll explain it to you and I'll start the process, but I ain't doing it. I was like, you know what, sir? It's okay. You go ahead and end your shift. I'll wait until the new shift start. The new one came in. Good morning. Bright-eyed, bushy tail, coffee in his hand. Like, you can get near my spine. You could go. But by the time I had my son, he was back on his shift again. You know, so it was not, obviously I don't have the worst experience, thank God, but just those like microaggressions, like just disregarding. I'm like, I feel a lot of pressure. And I'm like, ow. And he's like, it doesn't hurt. And I was like, it's just pressure. It's not pain. You can't feel anything. And I was like, well, pressure hurt. Like,
I don't know. I don't know how I would have made it through that. And let's be clear, like we learned in our training, that is one of the risk factors for postpartum depression, anxiety, and so on. That, you know, traumatic birthing story, those traumatic, you know, labors, that is one of the risk factors.
Listen,
that experience
I was so upset. But of course, it's like when you have all these things going on, you can't even focus on it. And by the time I could remember to complain about them, I'm like trying to get discharged, trying to get my blood pressure down, trying to, you know, recover from a C-section. So these are how these things get missed, right? But like simple things like blood pressure, that's regulated throughout the whole pregnancy. Why is that the exact thing that's taking us out at a disproportionate rate?
Absolutely.
A treatable issue. Like, I don't understand how this keeps happening.
And I think it's because, sorry about that. I think it's because I can't turn my phone off.
Listen, I had to take mine off. I had to disconnect mine from my computer.
I need to figure that out. I apologize. And
that's okay.
My phone is connected. But I think it's because the voices are not being heard, right? And I think sometimes we, Black and brown women, we sometimes we don't know what to say. We haven't been taught these things. And I like even me, with my experience was definitely different. I could say I probably had a 10 out of a 10 pregnancy and labor, honestly. One thing that I did notice though is that, and what I learned through that process is sometimes you have to have a person to advocate for you. Because sometimes you just don't know. I remember when I said, you know, I want to kind of do this natural. And I was hesitant to say it because as soon as you say stuff, people are like, no, why are you doing that? It's going to hurt. And so I also said, you know, I want to do a doula. So people are looking at me like, a doula? What are you talking about? You don't need that. People been having babies for years. Why do you need that? You know, get the epidural. It's going to hurt. You're going to feel so much better. You can sleep. Sometimes you won't even feel the contractions. Now, I disregarded all that because I knew what I wanted. And so my doula actually helped me advocate for certain things. So I didn't know. Now, of course, if you're having an issue through labor or whatnot, but I didn't know that you could tell the doctor that you didn't want to be checked as frequently because sometimes they do that, you know. And during my delivery, I only was checked twice, and I did not want to be checked multiple times because if that number was not getting to 10, I don't know if I would have made it. So my doctor checked me twice.
I know that.
Once in the beginning, and I was only like 2 centimeters, and then once after like 8 hours, she was like, "Okay, I gotta check you now." And when she checked me, I was at 8 centimeters. So when she did that, I just was like, "Oh God, I'm here. I'm at the end. I can't believe it." You know, I didn't know that. You know, even in the hospital, you know, I had a plan. Again, we are not taught to have plans. I know my parents didn't have a plan. You know, when you walk in the hospital, you just get on the table. How my mom get on the table and have the baby. So all of this stuff, she doesn't know to teach me these things.
Right.
Fortunately, you know, I learned through living and hearing other people's stories. Around the time I gave birth, which my son is 2 years old, Serena Williams and Beyonce spoke about their pregnancies, literally during the time I was pregnant. And Beyonce had an issue, I think, with preeclampsia. I think Beyonce and Serena both did. And Serena said that in the hospital, they were not listening to her.
She had blood clots.
That's what. Okay, so Beyonce had preeclampsia. So if you're not listening to a Serena,
exactly.
What's
You're
law?
not listening to someone who can own your whole life and career. But you listen, I was so terrified because of that.
They were not listening to her. And so I tried to block out a lot during that because I was only taking in good vibes and energies. I was not for all that, but I couldn't help but to read and do research to figure out, okay, what did they do, or what didn't they do? I'm going to do the opposite.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that was really important. And that's why I think stuff like this, of us talking about this, Maternal Health Week, I learned a lot of things in addition to that training. We are now able to like give that information to other people. I shared my whole pregnancy story on my Instagram, and people wrote me and was like, "Oh my God, I didn't know that I could like only maybe possibly get checked for, twice."
Now, they was checking me all the time, and I was like, "Look here," I got to the point where I was like, "No,
no,
nope, I don't want, not the doctor," like.
I was able to tell them because they was like, "You want to sleep? You want to take Ambien?" No. Well, you should. They said Ambien, yes. I still have the text messages when I wrote my doula. My doula was like, "No, you probably don't need it." I was like, "You're right. I'm going to go to sleep." And they were offering me that epidural multiple times. I denied it. They offered me Tylenol after I had the birth. I said, "I'm fine. I don't need it." So you are able to speak up, and sometimes your voice can really get missed because technically the doctors and the nurses, they are looked at as the authoritarians, the authority figures. And so you're kind of going with what they say.
And, or you, like, I know from me, I ended up having an emergency C-section due to an infection.
Mm-hmm.
And the infection could have been for a number of different reasons. One, there was meconium when my water broke. First of all, let's go back to the fact that I was 5 days overdue, right? Oh, okay. And my pressure was high, so I was sent to the emergency room.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, "Y'all, look, I'm supposed to be induced on Monday. It's Friday. Let's just get this ball. Let's get the show on the road."
Right.
So I ended up being induced because of my blood pressure. So that got me to 3 centimeters. Child, I got the I remember the Foley catheter came out around like 3 a.m, which meant I was at 3 centimeters. And child, I was on the highest level of Pitocin and, to get the contractions going. And so
it's crazy.
Child.
People turned that off. And she was like, "Oh yeah, you don't need it anymore. Yeah, turn this off." Because those contractions, I was like this. Okay. I said, no, wait. Now I went to the birthing classes. Now they didn't say it was going to come every
Let me tell you, I had that and the Foley catheter. So that the Pitocin caused the contractions, but the catheter caused cramps. So I had 2 for 1. Okay. Mm-hmm. So let me tell you, I went in with a plan. I said, my plan was to go with the flow. Mm-hmm. Might not have been the best plan, but that was my plan because I had friends who had rigid plans and honey, wasn't nothing going that way. Mm-hmm. And so I didn't want to be disappointed. So, child, I had my lavender essential oil going. I had the lights turned down. I had my nature music going. My mom kept calling, "What's going on?" And they like, "Well, she's trying to go to sleep." I'm like, "Sleep? She's supposed to be in labor. How she sleep?" I wasn't asleep. I just kept saying, "Mind over matter."
Amen.
Nothing you could do about it, but just go through it. So I'm laying there, child, that back labor hit. I said, "Oh, I need epidural." I remember being like, I wasn't sound asleep.
Yes.
I was laying still. And my best friend and my husband were like, "What? We didn't even know you were in pain. Like, what do you mean? Everything was going." No, child. No, I said, if I ain't 6 centimeters by 6:30 when they come in here, I want the epidural. They checked me. They were like, "You still 3 centimeters, child." No.
Okay, well, see, now that would have took me out. That would have took me out.
He slept through the whole labor. They were like, "Mrs. Moore, this is the max I'm allowed to give you. Like, I have to get a doctor's orders to give you more, the higher dose of Pitocin because he just don't want to come out. Like, they kept saying, he's sleep again, put your oxygen mask on, turn over." Child, he slept through the whole labor. And guess what? When I had that C-section, he said, "You woke me up. I ain't never going to sleep again."
now? Is he a good sleeper now?
Now, it took him 13, 14 months.
Yeah. You know what? But that's what, like, honestly, I think these type of platforms are needed.
Yeah.
Even the work of Shanae, I believe her last name is Darby, who
Yes.
focuses on one of the resources she focuses on, which we'll put in the chat, is
Yes,
what is
we'll put all of this in the chat.
Black mothers in labor.
I think it's Black maternal something. Or
Yeah,
I'm sorry. The name of it.
Yeah, so
we'll put it in the chat.
Yeah, we'll put it in the chat. But Shanae, she does a lot of work with Black mental health, postpartum, and she shares her story. She shares multiple resources, and so yeah, this is definitely something that we are tackling little by little, and it's definitely necessary.
Did you? Because I just learned about a new service this week. Did you know about postpartum doulas?
Well, I did not, but my doula provided postpartum services. So
okay.
She even, like, in our contract, she even, she would call, check up, see how you're doing. She would even come and watch the kid for you if you would like. And you could use that to either go to sleep, go on a date, or what have you. But she said, don't wash dishes, don't clean up, nothing. And so, yeah, take over.
This week, I just learned that there are people who are trained as postpartum doulas only, like who come and they assist the mom. And I said to myself, now granted, I had a whole tribe with me for a good 2 weeks, maybe even 3. But honey, I cried my little eyeballs out when they all left. Yeah, baby.
You know,
I prayed for them.
So if you do it again, stagger it out, because people want to come all at one time. So just stagger that thing out. Yes. Yeah, everybody not leaving.
I'm gonna have somebody with me for the first year. It was. I mean, it was crazy, and especially having a C-section, I could only go up and down the steps once a day. So once I was down for the whole day. You know, thank God I recovered. But you know what's crazy too, like, and why I am so grateful to even learn about postpartum doulas. What is wrong with the system that you have a baby and then they don't check you for 6 weeks?
Well, see, that's another thing. I didn't wait the full 6 weeks. I went earlier than that because I wanted to make sure everything was okay. Because again, I read and heard, like, moms having challenges, blood clots afterwards, high blood pressure afterwards. And it was one mom that I read about, a story I read about in New York. She was having headaches. She went to the emergency room. They made her sit down because, you know, life-threatening. So they say, this lady died in the waiting area. And I think basically what she had a blood clot run through, and it went to her brain. That's why she was having those headaches. And so, yeah, I went earlier than the 6 weeks. I said, no, we're going. And they, I made my appointment. They said, okay. That's what I'm saying. And another thing I learned, for anybody watching, some doctors, not all, and again, I'm talking about things that are not emergency cases.
Right.
Doctors will, like, try to induce you just because, like, okay, come on, you full time, let's do it, because they just ready to get it done. And I was like, no, I'm not doing that. I'm not getting induced until something, unless it's an issue or what have you. I did have, I was 3 days about to hit my due date in 3 days, but I had to get induced. But my doctor did ask me, oh, you want to get induced? You're full term. So she wanted to induce me like 2 weeks, 3 weeks early. I'm like, no, we're gonna wait this thing out.
Child, my doctor wasn't having it. She was like, we ain't doing nothing until he's 7 days late. I was like, but I'm grateful for my doctor because I did feel that, and she's a nurse practitioner. She's Black. I just felt like, while she was doing her job, I felt like I didn't feel like I had to question anything she did. She always, even when she was reading me the riot act and I was accusing her of not letting me have no fun in my pregnancy, because she was always talking about how much weight I was gaining. She was like, I'm trying to help you for after you drop this baby. And now I go back like, I'm so sorry, I didn't listen. And I didn't know that bread, because she was right. But it was hard for me not having her there when it was time to deliver, because she only did the office visits. as a nurse practitioner.
Mm.
So going into it, not having any clue of who was going to deliver my child, that was scary. And my biggest fear was a C-section. And let me tell y'all, I had a whole temper tantrum. Okay.
Yeah, I would have felt out.
When they were like, because they came in, I was asleep because by then I had the epidural, so I was good in sleep. And I was like, why did I wait 13 hours? But I was asleep. And they came in and they were like, here's some Tylenol. You have an infection and you're running a bit of a fever. I'm like, what? Like, when did all this happen while I was asleep? Mm-hmm. So then I felt like I could be wrong, but I felt like it was 5 minutes later. They were like, oh, his heart rate's dropping, we need to do an emergency C-section because you have an infection and it could go to him and we don't want anything to happen to the baby. And there's already meconium in the amniotic fluid, and like giving me all these worst case scenarios, and then said, but it's your choice. Really? Is it? You just told me if I don't do this, my baby's going to die. And then
blocked all that. Anything, she's like, no, talk to me. What's going on? Okay, Crysta, these are some things that we talked about earlier, and she broke that thing down. Yeah, and listen, I am for doulas. Okay. Now, if you don't get one, okay, all right, fine. Have a support person in there. That's fine. Ride that thing out with you. But
I don't know why I didn't have one. I mean, my friend was good. She's friends with a doula, so she thought she knew what she was doing. But like, I probably should. I know I would the next time around. I would definitely.
Let's say this for people that are watching and will watch, because you may not even know what a doula does. So basically, I would say it's more so of an educator, a support person, a coach, the teacher, like all the above wrapped in one. Mm-hmm. Now, did my husband hold it down through the entire thing and in the room? Absolutely. But her coming in, she taught us so many things. She showed us so many things that we did not know, and couldn't. Sometimes you can't for everything. And so in that room, she was also able to like give my husband a break because he was exhausted.
Right.
So she would like give me ice chips. She knew the pressure points to get to. So when those contractions was coming, she knew what to press, and it made me get up out that bed. I walked around. I was in the bathroom. I was on a ball. I was doing all types of stuff because I just was like, I got to see this to the end. And if I can make it to the end without this epidural, which is, no shade to anybody that needs to get one, right? Because what I said was, it was that doctor come here and check me. And if it's not progressing, I'm getting it. And it's just by the grace of God that I was at 8. And then
I was sleep, child. He wasn't coming out. He wasn't coming out till Monday.
I said, 8. No, give me the epidural. Give me the epidural. This can take longer. My doula was like, absolutely not. We're here, Crysta. You're not going to get up. You're walking. We're going to get this out. So let's go. So
that is just. I can't wait until we can get the boys together and have some fun and run around.
Yes. And no, let me share this resource here that Shanae that we talked about. She is training women, 10 women currently right now, doulas. So that is something that's coming soon.
Very nice.
So I don't know if they're finished, but I know they started their training last week. Some intense training on how to be doulas. So
I love it. I love it.
Get women the support they need and that they want.
I absolutely love it. So between the doulas and the Postpartum Support International, they have a directory also for women who are looking for postpartum mental health therapy, for depression or anxiety. We now have a few on the Black, Brown, Delaware Therapists, thanks to Crysta rubbing them elbows. We are if I'm not misspoken, the first ones of color in Delaware to be added to their train directory.
Yes. So I'm gonna make the official announcement probably the first.
I'm sorry.
No, you have to make the first week of May, but yes, it was a resource that was definitely needed. I am extremely happy that this platform, again, it's opening doors and providing resources, even resources that I didn't even think about or realize was lacking. And yeah, so right now on the directory, we currently have 3 providers that are trained in perinatal mood disorders. And that's me, that's Kiera, and that is also Levante Dorsey, who is, she is the owner of, I believe it's Levante Dorsey and Associates. And she's also on the directory, and she has a group practice as well.
Yes.
The goal is, honestly, I'm trying to get everybody on the directory.
Yes.
Whoever wants it, I'll say that. I'm trying.
Right. Well, I really appreciate you coming on today for my very first episode.
Yes.
Just to recap, if you are looking for a therapist and you are in the state of Delaware and you are looking for a therapist of color, you can go to Black Brown Delaware Therapist with an S.com. What else did we talk about? We're coming up on the end of Black Maternal Health Week. So that's why we were talking about our birth stories. If you know someone who is pregnant or recently gave birth, please let them know that there are perinatal mental health and postpartum trained therapists on the directory as well. And just to increase their awareness about it, because we never think it's us until it's us, right? And we're always, we're going to get into the Cape next week or in 2 weeks, but we're always just, ready to just go and just do it and just take on the world. But a conversation I had this morning is sometimes our ambition and our body has to have a little quarterly meeting and say, okay, we need to get on the same page.
I love that.
Because the ambition is saying go, 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 and the body is saying I need a break.
Yeah,
and we need to have those quarterly meetings and say, okay, what you need? What do you need to catch up to where I'm trying to take you? Is that rest? Is that a retreat? Is that vacation? What do we need? So thank you so much, Crysta, for joining me today. I believe we covered everything that I wanted to share.
And let me just say this. And like I said, we'll put all the info in there. But one thing that I drive to everybody I know, but I'm also driving it to the Black and brown people specifically, is to be proactive and not reactive. A lot of times we look at mental health and physical health as 2 separate entities, and they're not. They're really one and the same. If your mental health is not intact, if your emotions are not being regulated, it can throw your physical health off. So be proactive. Set your appointments. Make that eye appointment. Make that OBGYN appointment. What else do you need to do? Make the annual appointment. All of that and above. Make your dentist appointment.
Right.
Just basically make your mammogram appointment. Anything that you are supposed to be getting, do it, you guys.
Do it. It
goes for my men and the females to just be on top of your health, because we are honestly the first advocates for ourselves, honestly.
And if we're not going to advocate, no one else will. So we have to be the ones to, if someone does us wrong, if someone does someone else wrong, we are quick to take up for someone else. Let's put that same energy when it comes to us, right? So we definitely have to advocate. I'm going to just share a few announcements, but if you want to go ahead, Crysta, and put those links in for BDT and anything else you want to share in, I just want to share with everyone else. Well, first, let me say thank you again.
I'm so glad. Thank you for inviting me, being your first guest. I'm so glad that I met you. Was it before quarantine? Was it before?
It was during the pandemic.
During pandemic. So I'm grateful. And yes, I'm so excited for everything that you're doing and this platform that you have created and launched. I'm excited about it.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Go ahead and put all the links in the chat so everyone can know where to find you and all that good stuff. And I'm sure we'll chat soon.
Yes.
All right. No problem. So everybody, I am so grateful and appreciative of you joining me for my very first episode of Self-Care Sound Mind, the podcast and live series. I want to just reiterate some of the announcements that I shared, the self-care activities and opportunities. So Self-Care Sound Mind events will be back up and running this May, where I will plan one self-care event a month that is open to the public. I'll also share all kinds of information if you follow Self-Care Sound Mind events on Facebook and Instagram. Personally, you can follow me at Kiera Moore Therapeutic Services on Facebook and Instagram, as well as Embracing Oak on Facebook, and Embracing Oak on Instagram, and Embracing Oak Therapy on Facebook. I will add my websites and everything in the chat. Follow Black Girls Hike 2 on Instagram for a monthly hiking opportunity in Delaware. Follow Sisters Supporting Sisters on Instagram and Facebook. They have a weekly anxiety and depression walkathon where they walk the the Jack Markell Trail from the Constitutional Yard in the riverfront to Battery Park. 7 miles, y'all, but it is a wonderful, wonderful walk. If you want a shorter walk or online fitness opportunities, you can go to Fit Wife Style at fitwifestyle.com, and you can see some exercise opportunities there. If you are a mental health therapist or a clinician, a Black female mental health clinician of any kind, whether that's licensed social worker, professional counselor, if you are a school psychologist or nurse practitioner or psychiatrist, I have a Black female clinicians meetup where people of our mental health kind, the mental health professionals, we come together on a monthly basis, and we just support one another. We chat, we share resources. If you are looking to start private practice, I recently started private practice coaching and would love to help you get started. Next week, I keep saying next week, maybe something's telling me to do this every week. In 2 weeks, we will be discussing self-care. We will be discussing Drop Your Cape, which is my latest book. And we will also be discussing a book called Balance. And that is by one of my schoolies who I went to grad school with, Crescence Campbell, who's a licensed professional counselor. Thank you so much for watching. I am going to share a little outro so that you can see what we have going on next week. Thank you so much for your time and for watching. And for those of you who are going to be downloading on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, thanks for listening.